bakers, I love pizza no matter what shape or form it comes in. So today I'm going to put a big and bold twist on this family favorite, and we are going to make pizza monkey bread. So let's get baking. Monkey bread can be savory and sweet, and it is also known as pull apart bread or tear and share because it's broken down into little bready nuggets and you can just pull off bits as you go. It's a really great recipe for the summer and picnics. That's why I want to show you now. We're going to start out by making our dough. It's super easy to make. So you can use a stand mixer or you can actually do it by hand. Doing it by hand, you're just going to need a lot more elbow grease, but it's totally doable. Into your mixing bowl, we're going to add in our flour. So my dough is very similar to a dinner roll dough. It's milky and nice and soft. I have seen people use store-bought biscuits or pizza crust. That choice is up to you. However, this dough is really easy, so I would say try this one first. Our next ingredient in is salt. Salt is super important in bread making. I'm going to put that over on one side of the bowl so I can see where it is. Our next ingredient in is our dried yeast. Now it can be fast action or active dried yeast, that's totally fine. Now you know my rule, put the salt on one side and the yeast on the other side of the bowl. And then after that, they can be mixed in together, but just don't put them directly on top of each other. So I'm just going to give that yeast a little bit of a mix into the flour over there, and then I'm going to mix the salt in over there on the other side. Okay, great, this is our dry ingredients. Now we're going to get our wet ingredients ready. In a separate jug, add in your milk and cubed butter. So now what we want to do is pop this guy into the microwave and just warm up the milk until it's blood temperature. It doesn't take long at all. My milk was in the microwave for around 40 seconds. The butter has melted and I'm going to put my finger in here. And if you can't feel the liquid around your finger, that means it's blood temperature. It's the same temperature as your blood. That's why you shouldn't be able to feel it. This is the perfect temperature to add in to our bread. Okay, we're ready to go with our dough. I'm going to turn my machine on to a low speed and start to add in my liquid. See, I told you this was an easy dough. So you can see our dough is nice and firm and it's all come together. This is great. We're going to continue kneading now for another 6 to 8 minutes and just develop all of that gluten. Okay, our dough is looking great. Off with the machine. Now, this is how I can tell your dough is looking good, because here we have a nice big ball of soft dough. This is perfect. And the other thing that we have is a nice clean bowl. This is the result of a good dough. Now, I got asked a question from a bold baker recently called Emerson, and she asked me, why do you always say you have to have a clean bowl at the end? And a clean bowl means that you weighed out all your ingredients right and your technique was perfect. So you know you're on the right track when you got a clean bowl. Just before we wrap up our dough nice and snug, I'm going to pour in a little bit of olive oil. You can also use a flavorless vegetable oil. You just want to coat your bowl and your dough with your oil. Now I'll tell you why, because during the proofing of the dough, the oil will actually help the dough move up and it won't restrict it in the bowl. You want to get some cling wrap, lay it over your bowl nice and tight to make sure that no air gets in at your dough. Now what we're doing here is making a nice little bed for our dough. Put a little blanket over it. You have to remember that a dough is a living thing. It is living and breathing. It needs air, it needs moisture, it needs warmth, and more importantly, it needs love. The more care and attention you give your dough, the better results you'll have at the end. So now I'm going to set him aside at room temperature and let him proof for around 2 hours or until he doubles in size. And then we're ready to cut him up for our monkey bread. While the bread dough is proofing, it is a great time to get the rest of your pizza ingredients together. So what I have here are some of my favorite toppings for a pizza. I have pepperoni, some mozzarella, fresh basil, some garlic, I love me some garlic, and then also some tomato sauce. Now I'm going to chop up these ingredients and put them into a bowl. In a nice big bowl, add in your tomato sauce. Now you can use homemade tomato sauce or you can use tinned, and I actually have a recipe on my website of how you can make your own. Next, we're going to add in our chopped pepperoni. I'm a bit of a purist when it comes to pizzas, so I love just simple pepperoni pizza. It's one of my favorites. In with our chopped fresh basil. You can rip this by hand, you can chop it, whatever you like. A must for me is some chopped fresh garlic. Super important for pizza. And lastly, a very important ingredient, lashings of mozzarella. So our pizza sauce is looking and actually smelling really delicious. I'm going to pop this in the fridge until our dough is ready. Okay, so it's been 2 hours and let's have a little sneaky peeky at what's going on with our dough. This is what we want. It has more than doubled in size. Do you see all those lovely bubbles? Do you see all of this? This is a lovely dough. It feels really nice and soft and bubbly. Okay, so I'm very lightly going to dust my counter with some flour. Just need a tiny bit. And then turn out your dough. This looks great. Just toss your dough in a little bit of flour. And then with a dough cutter or a knife, I like to use a dough cutter, just cut off little bits of your dough, just little nuggets. Now there's really no rhyme or reason to how you cut this up. just do little bits, do a little bit bigger, different shapes or sizes. Just be careful not to cut them too big because you don't want big lumps of dough. Okay, so that's it, all chopped up. Now it's ready to toss into our pizza sauce. Add in your dough and then give it a nice stir around so that all of your sauce coats your bread. This looks fantastic. It's all lovely and coated like a big bowl of pizza. It is ready for our tin. To bake my monkey bread, I am using a bundt tin, and I'm going to put a link on my website of where I got this. If you don't have one, that's totally fine. You can always use a cheesecake tin or a cake tin. Before I put in my dough, I'm actually going to grease my tin with some butter, and I like to do this because it gives your bread a much better, crispier, golden brown crust. Always remember you can use a butter paper to grease the tin. It's a great little trick my mum taught me. Once your tin is buttered, pour in your dough. Gently move it around the tin so that it's nice and even. I am really excited to bake this off, however, we do need to let it proof again. If you want to make this the night before or even 2 days in advance, you can actually make it up to this point, then cover it in cling wrap and put it in the fridge and then bake it off whenever you want it. But for right now, we are going to put some cling wrap over it. The same cling wrap that we used earlier on for our dough. Waste not, want not. Make it nice and snug. You know the rules, nice and snug. Love, warmth, food, all that good stuff. Lay over your towel, make it nice and snuggy. So now you're going to let it proof for around 40 minutes to an hour. All you want to do is see it rise up and get nice and big, and then we're going to bake it off. So it's been 45 minutes and I want to show you what your monkey bread should look like when it's proofed and ready to go. Oh my gosh, this smells insane. So as you can see, it is nice and puffy. Give it a little bit of a touch. Nice and soft and squishy. This is great. And then also, if you look at it, it actually has risen up to the edge of the tin. This is what we want. This means that your dough is nicely risen. It's got some nice bubbles inside there. This guy is ready for the oven. Bake your monkey bread at 350 degrees Fahrenheit or 180 degrees Celsius for around 30 minutes or until it's golden brown. Our monkey bread is finally out of the oven and it looks fantastic. It's lovely golden brown all over the top. When you push it down, it's firm, which means your bread is cooked. And you see all that mozzarella gooey yumminess. This stuff is what food dreams are made of. Well, my dreams anyway. Once your monkey bread comes out of the oven, let it rest for around 15 minutes. You do this because if you take it out of the oven and turn it out straight away, your monkey bread might fall apart. So you want to give it a little bit of time to cool down and to set. And then once it is set, I'm going to show you a trick of how to get it out of there easily. I'm going to take my plate, place it on top of my bundt tin, and then really quickly flip it over. Then carefully lift off the tin. This looks amazing, all the melty cheese and all the tomato sauce baked into the bread. Now while it's still warm, I'm going to pull off a piece for myself. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Some of my favorite things all together, bread, cheese, pepperoni. This is definitely a big and bold recipe. I guarantee if you bring this dish to a party or a barbecue this summer, people are going to go nuts. During the summer holidays, make sure you take full advantage of your time and get baking in the kitchen. And I'll see you back here next week for more bigger, bolder baking. He's my lobster.